Do you still wake up feeling sluggish and fatigued even after getting what you think is a good night's rest? If you're anything like me, you've probably struggled with this for years now and are at a total loss as to what else you could possibly do to fix it. Having been there myself up until just recently, I'm confident at least one of the reasons I'm about to list applies to you as well. So without further ado, let's get into it. Number 1, not getting restorative sleep. So if you're not practicing proper sleep hygiene, you're definitely not getting the quality sleep that you should be. And the biggest mistake I see people make with this is not avoiding screens and other types of mental stimulation at least 2 hours before bed, ideally more. And this is actually backed up by a 2021 PubMed study, which revealed that university students who used any device within 2 hours of going to sleep had not only much worse sleep quality, but also higher rates of depression as well. I used to be really bad about this, laying in bed for sometimes up to an hour or two, just messing around with my phone. And the easiest solution to this, I found, honestly, was just to have somebody, in this case my girlfriend, literally just come over and take the phone out of my hand at whatever time I'd specified. But say you live by yourself, there's still a pretty easy solution, and that's just to set an alarm 2 hours before bed that says, hey, time to put the phone up. You put it up, and then you're good until tomorrow morning. The second aspect of sleep hygiene I want to touch on is actually pretty similar to the first, and that's just avoiding food at least 3 to 4 hours before bed. And the logic is pretty similar to what we had just discussed. Basically, your lowest heart rate should be before 2 a.m., and at least in my experience, if I eat right before bed, sometimes it takes as long as until 6 to 8 a.m. before that point hits, and I consistently feel wired and tired in the morning, like I just haven't gotten a restful sleep no matter how many hours on paper I seem to have slept. All throughout the night, I'm just tossing and turning, just a bad experience all around. So that's why you're going to want to stay away from that at least 3-4 hours before. Now, the next part of this I want to talk about is going to sound pretty simple, and I guess it is, but it's no less important. And that is just simply ensuring that you are sleeping in a complete pitch black environment. Fortunately, this is a pretty easy solution. You either just get blackout curtains or a sleep mask, and it's pretty much taken care of. But the reason you want to do this is because even just a minuscule amount of sunlight coming in through the blinds in the morning can be enough to wake you up prematurely. You really want to ensure that you're finishing your sleep cycle at the optimal time and waking up naturally. Otherwise, you're probably going to wake up not feeling your best. Now, the next point is pretty similar to the last, keeping temperatures down, ideally around 67 to 69 degrees. And what that's going to do is promote the natural release of melatonin. Similar to sleeping in a dark environment, sleeping in a cold environment also primes your body for sleep. The last point here is to make sure that you're rising and going to sleep at the same time every single day. Yes, this includes weekends and the holidays. There can be some exceptions, but by and large, you want to be doing this every day you physically can. You need sunlight to set your circadian rhythm. And deep sleep also usually occurs between the hours of 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. So if you're getting to bed at like 12 to 1, you're only getting a fraction of the restorative sleep that you should be. What I found is if you're having difficulty resetting your sleep schedule, what you're going to want to do is actually anchor it to when you wake up, simply because this is what you have the most control over. You can't really force yourself to be sleepy in the evening around when you want to be going to bed, but you certainly can wake yourself up with an alarm clock, and if you repeat this enough times, you will naturally become sleepy around when you would like to be, as long as you're getting up early enough. Now, before I move on from the topic of sleep, I'd like to touch on one other thing, and that is the more exceptional cases. Say you're somebody that's already implemented every single one of these items, and you're still struggling to get a good night's rest. If that's the case, you're probably going to want to do what's called a sleep study, and this is something that you can order yourself or your primary care can order for you. Basically, you're just going to use it one night. It's going to track your sleep to make sure that there aren't any interruptions caused by things like sleep apnea, which is more prevalent in people who snore. If that sounds like you, or you've tried all these things and you still can't get a good night's rest to save your life, then it is something worth looking into for sure. Reason number 2, you might still be feeling tired when you wake up, comes down to diet and hydration. A lot of people think that drinking water is enough to hydrate you, and while that's partially true, it's not exactly the whole story. You also need these things called electrolytes, namely Potassium, magnesium, sodium, calcium, these are absolutely critical because without them, the water can't actually be used efficiently by your body. Basically, it doesn't matter how much water you drink, you're not going to feel any more hydrated. The good news is this is a pretty easy fix. Basically, all you need to do is use either Celtic sea salt or pink Himalayan salt, which contain trace minerals, including electrolytes, or just use one of these handy-dandy electrolyte drops. And I'm not sponsored by this brand, this is just what I use personally, and I find that it works pretty well. If you're watching this video, you're probably already pretty health conscious and are aware that the brain is majority water, so without proper hydration, you can very quickly end up with impaired reaction time, memory, attention, mood, etc. This can even happen with just a 1 to 2% decrease in body water, according to a 2013 PubMed study. So it doesn't take much. On the flip side of hydration, we have diet, and what I see people struggle with most here is twofold. Either eating too frequently or eating way too many carbohydrates. Doing either of these is going to seriously elevate and crash your glucose, otherwise known as your blood sugar levels, which is going to create this endless cycle of fatigue and brain fog, along with more sugar cravings that basically just perpetuate the cycle indefinitely. Basically, what you're going to look at doing is just introducing more fat, protein, and micronutrient dense foods, which are not only going to help your body stabilize your blood sugar, but also optimize other bodily functions, including things like normalizing hormone levels as well. The third and final reason you could still be feeling tired when you're waking up comes down to chronic stress. And I'm going to have to call myself out here. This has far and away been historically the biggest obstacle for me personally. I'd say this is especially possible if you're someone who often feels wired but tired, very often found in type A personalities. So these are your entrepreneurs, athletes, etc. Personally, I had no idea how much stress I was dealing with until I got this Oura ring here, which confirmed I was constantly tossing and turning in my sleep due to my brain not being able to settle down. I wasn't getting nearly as much restful sleep as I previously had thought. What I ended up doing to counteract this, in addition to some very much needed work-life balance adjustments, was taking more calming supplements that have the added bonus of also promoting sleepiness, namely magnesium, taurine, L-theanine, melatonin, and a couple others that I'll put up on screen here. Since I've started taking these, I feel like I've experienced natural onset of sleepiness in the evening for the first time since I was a child. So one point of caution before I wrap things up here is that prescription medications such as hydroxyzine that induce drowsiness can be okay in the short term, but they're always definitely going to cause unwanted side effects, especially if your body becomes reliant on them as you use them for extended periods of time, which is really just defeating the purpose because it's going to make it that much more difficult to fall asleep whenever you inevitably stop taking it. Now, obligatory, I am not a doctor, disclaimer, this is not medical advice, but in my experience, the only real exception I found to this is something called LDN or low-dose naltrexone, which does seem to be tolerated pretty well over the long term with few to no adverse side effects that I found, and there are no withdrawals as well, so that's just my 2 cents. In summary, if you found that even just one or two of these reasons applies to you, I would bet that you're almost certainly not getting the best quality sleep that you could be. And I would encourage anyone out there with these issues to not put them off like I did, as I promise they will catch up to you. It's not a matter of if, but when, and it's almost certainly going to be much sooner than you think. I'm especially calling out all you fellow type A's out there who always feel the need to be productive, constantly in go, go, go mode all the time. Seriously, you can't afford to mess this up, I promise. If not for your health, for your long-term productivity, because it will cost you in the end. I'll be posting more in detail about hidden sleep disruptors in the near future, so if you found this video helpful, please feel free to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.